Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Beyond Second Cognition. I'm Beall. The topic of this discussion is humanity refuses to advance. Awakened? Who are you kidding? This particular presentation is probably going to irritate some people, but I'm only going to be dealing with facts. And the problem with facts, ladies and gentlemen, is they have a tendency to rankle people, particularly if they find themselves guilty of the behaviors that are elucidated in the facts. We all want to deny the truth. We're so wrapped up in blaming other people for why things are the way they are and never accepting our own responsibility. And so when someone points out facts, particularly if we find out they pertain to us, we get mad, we get angry, we shut them off, we want to kill the messenger. And this is why humanity refuses to advance. Because to advance as an individual and a species, you have to take responsibility for your own actions. And sadly, most of humanity refuses to do that. It's always easier to blame somebody else than accept the responsibility for our own actions ourselves. So what I'm going to illustrate here is how little so many people are awakened as they think they are. I watch the news broadcasts and I read the comment threads and things like that on YouTube. And what I'm seeing is a species of beings that never advanced much beyond the age of 12 years old in their emotional development. This is illustrated with stupid name calling. You take these people that have a communist operative, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and they wind up digging at her by calling her occasional cortex or some stupid stuff like that. Or the so-called news reporter Don Lemon calling him sour lemon, or taking the communist operative Beto O'Rourke and calling him Beto or O'Dork. And people catch these things and they level their names back and forth, and we see the same thing on the left. People making fun of Trump and calling him Drump or whatever. And this juvenile name calling is the emotional mentality of the public. The left does it by calling people haters and misogynists and all this other kind of stuff. And what you have is a war of name calling, ladies and gentlemen. We have a bunch of people that are emotionally 12 years old and figure the best they can do against their adversary is to call them names like a 12-year-old. And I look at this pathetic tableau and I say, this species is never going to advance because they're emotionally in a state of arrested development. Hey, it worked when I was 12. I guess it should work now. And it really is a pathetic commentary to the mentality of most of the public in the world, because every country, every people, every nation does the same thing. They're all emotionally arrested. So we have to come up with special names to call our adversaries and call each other names. You know, sticks and stones and all this other kind of stuff. And I look at this and I thought, man, we're just wasting our time trying to teach people anything about wisdom because they're driven by their emotions. All you have to do to get somebody riled is poke their little emotional soft spot, and because most people are operating on a level of a 12-year-old from an emotional standpoint, that they never moved beyond that point of arrested development, you're not going to get through to people. You're not going to awaken people because emotions drive your psyche, ladies and gentlemen. And when you can be emotionally poked and prodded by somebody calling you a name, or don't you say that about my mama, or whatever the case may be, you're like clay in somebody else's hands. But the bad part about it is that you fall for it. You keep doing it. You don't advance beyond it. You all have your 12-year-old turf to protect. And so you're governed by your emotions. And this is how the psychological controllers of the world have you by the throat. They don't have to get your mind. All they have to do is get your 12-year-old emotional mindset to get you rankled and riled and get you to go out and do stupid things in the street or gather in protests. Oh, we got our pro-life mob, and we have our women's march mob, and we have our million-man march mob. And all we can think of is a mob, and it all appeals to the 12-year-old mentality. There's strength in numbers, by golly, and we're going to call those abortionists those ugly names that our 12-year-old mind can concoct to make ourselves feel better because we have the better name-calling tactics than they do. And so I sit back and I observe this stuff, and I realize we're basically pissing up a rope trying to teach what we're trying to teach because people don't want it. They like being emotionally stalled at the 12-year-old mentality. They want to play the name game or the name-calling game. And then they want to cast aspersions on me for calling out these readily observable facts. I mean, all you got to do is look at the news, pick your channel, they're all doing it. Look at the comments on the news and how many people fall in line picking up, ooh, I like that name, let's call her Occasional Cortex or whatever. Or it's pathetic, people. And you wonder why I sit here and call people out for this, because it's there. It's there by the millions. You see it on the news threads. You see it on YouTube videos. You see it in the major networks. You see it in the goddamn government, for Christ's sake. Everybody's operating with a 12-year-old emotional mentality. And so here we're trying to sow messages of enlightenment. And people can't get past their emotions to make their brains work because the emotions override the brain function. So we're wasting our time. And then people want to criticize us for calling it out and pointing it out when it is a readily observable fact. And you want to talk about fact-checking, start paying attention. And then come back and tell me how awakened you are, particularly if you are falling prey to these same stupid 12-year-old games. So I thought I would put this out and call it to the attention of those who may actually be genuinely seeking some wisdom, because until humanity transitions past this 12-year-old emotional mentality state, they're not going to advance. We're going to be the same dumbasses the human herds have been throughout time. And right now, I don't have a lot of faith in humanity when I observe stupidity like this. The question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to continue to be part of those herds operating at that mentality, or whether you want to transcend it? Because if you're content to live in this environment, then you deserve what you get. And I'm sorry if that sounds callous, but it's the way it is. So I don't see anything here that anybody is going to be able to deny so far as factual, observable information that is out there across the internet in all the countries of the world, because everybody does it. Consider that and tell me how awakened you are. For those of you doing the work, stay the course and don't give up on yourselves.